No, we're not doing this today.
Hey, what are you talking about? I am just a Italian filmmaker wanting to see my vision on the big screen. Here, I bring along a script. You read it.
Nobody talks like this.
Hey, I'm not looking for other criticism. You just read the word.
How is we doing, guys?
Ah, cut. Why aren't you reading the word from the top?
That was the first line.
No, not the first line. You start from the top at the very beginning of the paper.
You want me to read the scene headers?
Of course. What, do I not speak the English?
Not really.
All right, here we go again. Ready? 3, 2, go.
Interior room day. You know what? No.
Give me that. I will take this somewhere where they appreciate the real art of Italy. Hey. Why was there a racist caricature of an Italian backing out of your room?
That wasn't you?
Do you think I could have possibly grown that glorious of a mustache? Something weird is going on here. But we will deal with that later. Because as of now, we watched a movie today!
Death Squad!
Wrong!
Blade Runner 2049.
Closer, back it up.
2047 Sights of Death.
Sights of Death. That's the one. Also known as Death Squad. You could have said the first one. I was just being a dick. Anyway. I'm going to call it Sights of Death from now on. Or Death Squad. I'm going to mix and match. This movie is a
Einsatzgruppe.
Would you say post-apocalyptic? Because, I mean, the government's still in place. Everything's there. But
no, it's not really post-apocalyptic. It's
dystopian.
It's dystopian.
Dystopian.
I mean, like, the environment that they're in is very Chernobyl, but at the same time, it's because they're in a radiated zone.
So it's a dystopian future where all the conspiracies are true. Every single one of them. Completely true. The Illuminati, the Anonymous was right.
Dan Brown.
Julian Assange was right. The only people who weren't right were the 20 told Nibiru people. They're full of horseshit.
Yeah.
WikiLeaks, Wikipedia.
Apparently,
all the wikis.
All the fucking wikis.
Alright, so I'm going to give a brief plot here. So, this movie has after,
Don't say any of the actors yet.
Okay, all this stuff happens with the Illuminati or whatever, and the U.S. government has a war, and there's nukes and stuff going off, and they essentially have established themselves as the Confederation?
Yeah. The Confederacy or something.
Yeah, whatever. Probably Confederation, because I would have been able to make a lot more jokes if it was Confederacy. But,
the shall rouse again!
But the whole thing is that they have been committing these war crimes and covering it up. So, but not the government itself, people within the government. The government's actually pretty moral.
It's not even really war crimes, it's just one war crime committed by one character at this one time.
So this resistance movement known as Green War or whatever,
War.
They go in and they go into this radiation zone and they try to figure out...
They're a charity, and charity harbors terrorists.
They go in and they try to find evidence of this happening. Meanwhile, the guy who committed the crimes realizes that they're in there looking for evidence, so he goes in with his own little mercenary gang along with his government goonies and tries to stop him. The Green War guy named Wilburn.
Wilburn.
He runs into this native girl, and the native girl is like, yeah.
What's her name again?
Twag. See, it sounded like I was stuttering, but no, it's just Twag.
This is 2047, mind you,
yeah.
And apparently we start naming after like fucking Warcraft characters.
So Twag's like, she's mute, but she's like, yeah, we're gonna go get them, we're gonna beat them all. But
kill them all.
Throughout the course of this, we're questioning. We don't question anything. Like, it's exactly as it's happening on screen. But
you don't question any of it.
Apparently, at exactly halfway through the third act, they decide, turns out some of this actually wasn't happening at all. It was all hallucinations by the radiation
poisoning. So that's how that works.
There was a character named Lobo, who's played by a guy that I'm not going to say yet.
Not Tor Johnson.
He was killed off pretty blatantly, but then he came back, and it's not clear whether or not that was hallucination. But then he was killed as he was trying to take out our main character. He was killed by the native girl, who is a hallucination, except that the last scene implies that maybe she isn't. And then they drive away, they have the evidence, and it's like, but this war, I still have a long ways to go. And then it pops up a little text card saying like, but he did it, and the war crimes, they were brought to justice, and everything's happy again.
It was 2047.
The end. So, this movie is really nothing until we get into the actors. Let's talk about who everybody is. I'll go first with the main character because you have much more stake in the other guys. The main character, Wilburn, is a Baldwin.
He is a Baldwin.
It's Stephen Baldwin?
I don't know.
It's a Baldwin, not Alec. It's a Baldwin.
They're all fat now. Sorry, guys.
So there's that. The native girl wasn't anybody. It was just a random girl.
I mean, she... One thing about...
We'll get to that.
I gotta say it,
okay,
man.
Then say it. So the native girl is...
Red.
Red.
Very red.
It's never quite explained...
Like tomato red.
Never quite explained who the natives are. Whether they're, like, supposed to be Native Americans or people who were living in the U.S. when the bombs dropped, but then why would they be red and named Tuwag?
And also, is this actually even in the U.S.? Because I don't know if that was even established. This is just radiated zone, whatever.
A lot of the characters' names were like Asimov. And
yeah,
that's
well,
obviously
that's Russian.
Yeah, so maybe it's
that's the science fiction writer.
Maybe it's Russian, but then also where are the red people coming from and who are they supposed to represent? It doesn't make any sense to this character. But the other one I want to read forward is Daryl Hannah.
Yes,
is the one who is in the corrupted colonel's squad, but she is like, no, we do things by the book. We don't commit these genocides, these war crimes. They're bad. And he's like,
yet you're being at service to the Illuminati.
Yeah, which apparently the Illuminati has moral code. Who would have thought? Anyway, talk about the characters that you like.
Apparently they're susceptible to courts at the end of this movie. But oh boy, there's a plethora of people here. Well, first off the bat, first person we get is Mr. Danny Glover.
Yes, he is
Expository Man, also known as Sponge.
He is the guy who's like he's the guy who's like running the stuff behind the scenes at War Green, and he's like, "Listen here, Wilburn, you got to get back here alive because you're like a son to me. Damn it, I'm not gonna let you die."
He's like, you raised me, right? Yeah, I raised you. We used to watch horror films. You used to really like Freddy Krueger. Like, what does this have to do with anything?
But his whole thing is that he is the expository. He's the guy who opens up the film saying like...
And apparently nobody else works for this fucking organization. It's just Danny Glover sitting in this room with a fucking radio and a radar with the ability to scan the whole world.
Yeah, despite the fact that he should be like a pretty like closed off area, a little range of where you could have possibly dropped this guy off at. Let's scan the whole world for where he could possibly be.
Yeah. The second thing is, and I geeked when it happened and whatnot, the Colonel is played by Rutger Hauer, and which makes the fact that Daryl Hannah is in this movie, I found out via IMDb, that this is the first movie that Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah have been in together since Blade Runner.
Hey, we tied it back.
That's the reason, yes. And apparently this takes place 2 years before Blade Runner.
Blade Runner 2049.
It's like, but, yeah. But, he...
Oh, he's a treat.
He's a treat, but at the same time, though, I think he's confused half the time, honestly.
Okay, we'll get into that with writing and stuff like that, but yes, I agree.
No, literally as an actor. Like, he's just like...
He's like, yeah, I'm here. There's one point, and I called this out.
Kills.
He is literally brushing his teeth. They're all watching, like, their squad go in and get killed by this one-man militia, and he's just in there, I'm like, what in the fuck is happening?
And he was never brushing his teeth before or after
No, it's not like a character quirk, it's just him doing this weird thing.
Just because, alright, he wants to do it, cool.
So tell us who Lobo is.
Lobo is the one and only Michael Madsen. Everybody, all right. Now, I'm saying this to David during this. I was for the thumbnail on Netflix for this gives a very kind of Expendables vibe. Even Danny Glover is wearing like the uniform, and he never once wears
leaves
that.
his room. He has a one-day shoot. I guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guarantee.
The second thing is though, everybody. All right, this is the comparison I made. There was a wonderful PC game that came out called The Movies. It's kind of like a mix between The Sims, a movie maker, and like a business tycoon game rolled into one. It really deserved a sequel. But there's a thing. You go through the years, and you have characters, your actors, and they get really good at specific types of roles the more and more they play. But they still get older. So when you're older and they're action movie stars and they're like 60 years old and the reviews you're going to get from people are like, wow, they're old. Like, that is what I feel with this movie.
They're so old!
All of the people in this movie, like, if this movie was made in the 90s,
yes,
this movie probably would have been...
Oh my god.
Probably would have been a very
different film.
If it wouldn't have been good, it would have at least been far more entertaining than it was.
Yes, there was one scene. There's multiple scenes actually where Lobo and the Colonel talk.
I know it's
where Lobo and the Colonel talk to each other, and you get this feeling that like they're old war buddies, kinda.
Yeah.
And like they have a history with each other, but they're both just utter and completely like unrelenting douchebags. They do terrible things. And if this were Michael Madsen just after, like, Reservoir Dogs, man, that scene would have been menacing to see them, like, talk about how they're going to handle these people. But to see these guys, you just expect, like, as soon as the camera's turned off, they'd be like, oh, did you get your pension? I swear to God.
And they're not that old, but the thing is, though, like, as much as I love these actors, they have not aged well. Like, I'm sorry, Michael Madsen, you are an amazing actor. I love your acting and your performances to death. You look like you're aging like milk.
Don't
worry, it's going to happen to me too. Absolutely.
Before we picked this movie, there was a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
We might get to it later, so I'm not going to give a title. But we said, like, man,
on the list.
He looks like he's aging.
His age is finally catching up with him.
But then we clicked this and we're like, never mind, Nick, you're in your prime. These guys.
Rock on, Mr. Cage.
Jesus.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think. The only other actors in this I don't know from anything else.
Oh, no, we need to talk about Lobo's sidekick and his line readings.
Oh.
So I don't know his name. I don't care. I don't give a shit about who this character is.
We're not even going to look him up.
But my oh my, were his line readings some of the worst fucking things we've ever seen. So, Lobo and his Slacky, the one we're talking about, get captured
I did not hit her. I did not.
They get captured by the military group before it's revealed that, those two are friends. Or at least revealed to the characters, because we as the audience were introduced earlier to this, and it wasn't a good reveal at all.
No.
So they come into the room, he's like, lower your weapons, they're friends. And the one guy still has the gun trained on him, and he says, you put that away or else I will shove it up your ass and use the silencer. That pause, the silencer. The silencer.
We had to repeat it a couple times, just...
was this filmed on 35mm and you really had low stock and you had to use that
This
one?
movie would not have the budget for 35mm.
But I'm just trying to figure out, because digital you can take multiple takes. It's crazy like that.
Well, the reason why I think that this is a possibility is because, like, it's actually kind of impressive because I teach middle and high school students film, and this kind of gives me the feeling of how they give line reads in the movie, because none of my students ever practice their lines before going on set, so they have no idea how to fucking emote. But at the same time, though, they're 12 and 13-year-olds. That makes sense. There's only one reason why I can think that this was done as the way it was. This movie was primarily handled by an entirely Italian production team.
Which is a big deal.
And there are some Italian actors in there who have worked with the people who ran this thing before, so they're probably they probably do what we do here. It's like everybody's just in the same shit.
What are you talking about?
It's like, but the only way that I can kind of make that happen for me personally, is that there are plenty of Italian directors who make English-speaking movies that do not speak a lick of English.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with Italian directors making, like, movies in English and stuff like that, but if you do not understand, it's the story with Troll 2.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is, it was done. His name was Claudio Fragasso, I believe.
don't care.
He and like, I love the way that Roger Ebert put it. He kind of like, he's this person who he's the embittered Italian Federico Fellini or something like that. But Federico is Italian either way. But the thing is, though, because he didn't speak a word of English at the time, he made all of the actors say the words exactly as they were written in the script.
Even when they didn't sound like normal people talk.
And fast forward to, a previous episode, Giallo, Dario Argento is notorious because I don't even know, I believe that he speaks some English, but at the same time, though, for the majority of it, he doesn't speak any English. He's been making English-speaking movies for fucking decades. And they're all awkwardly talked. I just came to love it because that was how 70s horror and shit were done during that point from Italy. But this is not then. This does not work.
We've entered a new age of filmmaking since then.
We are in a global film market now.
Okay, so as I said earlier, that kind of explains a little bit like Rutger Hauer's weirdness. I like to think.
I think he's stoned.
I think that too. But I like to think that it was the same sort of thing that happened with Troll 2, where it's like, just read it as it's written there.
Yeah.
I don't want to change it. Because there were a lot of things that didn't make any sense, like, just phonetically, of like how it sounded. Like, verb tenses were off sometimes, and there were a few. Wasn't there something of like, the target and something of concrete? I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but it was completely off in the way of how it was supposed to sound. And like a computer was talking at one point, and I know it got something wrong. I laughed at that. But it's just that sort of thing where it's like, you're actors. These are trained actors. These are people who have done the rounds. They know what they're doing. They can say these things better if you give them permission to do so. I feel like they weren't given permission, or they weren't given enough reasons to give a fuck.
Well, I mean, that pretty much, like, one, I hope these guys got paid a decent wage for being in this movie, at least. There's a couple shots in the movie, I mean, we're going right into tech.
Go ahead.
There's, like, the couple shots in this movie that I'm like, that's pretty damn good, actually. It was a nice shot. But that was about it. Like, this movie is trying to be a thriller. It was obviously on the Netflix thrillers category. It's trying to be kind of tight tension on stuff. And I've looked at the director and the writers, and they've worked on a lot of crime serials in Italy. So this is something that they've kind of, this type of thriller type shit is something like that they've done before. But just like when the guy who made the movie The Vanishing made his own remake in English and it sucked balls, I feel that maybe it's a language barrier. I don't know what the fuck happened. It's just that whatever talent these guys might have did not transition into this movie.
Not at all. There was one point.
Why did you get a Baldwin? That still blows my mind. Like,
again, whatever.
Like, I think it was Stephen Baldwin.
It was.
Like, Stephen Baldwin. Stephen Baldwin is the guy that you get when you can't afford to get Rutger Hauer.
And yet you got Rutger Hauer.
And then you got Rutger Hauer. So why did you put him in the film?
The whole thing with this movie, in the way of technical for me, is that...
I mean, I would love to work with Rutger. Call me.
Is that, like, the opening sequence, you have this tech-forward city, all neon. Blade Runner. It was a Blade Runner city. Not enough giant billboards of moving shit, but that, and you had, like, meteors or something falling out of the sky.
It was just like meteors.
This over narration talking about how, the wikis and whatever. But then after that, nothing. Like, it goes to a helicopter crashing, and that looks like trash. It goes to...
It's like Asylum levels.
Yeah, it goes to, let's see here, like the bullets and everything like that. Bullets, I can't say they fired that many shots off, and when they did, it looked okay. It was fine. The blood was fine as well. One thing that really got us was that towards the end, the native girl was getting shocked by Rutger Hauer's character.
with like raw cables.
And the technical on that was fine. The sparks flipped fine, but oh boy, this girl's never been electrocuted in her life.
Well, most people probably.
I mean, not even like a shotgun. She had no idea because it was just like no. It was terrible. But yeah.
Also, red girl, white.
Okay.
She's very white.
I'm actually.
She's like milky white.
Because here's the thing for me though. If they were talking about, let's assume this is America. Let's just assume it is, because the whole WikiLeaks and government takeover, it fits with the current political climate. Let's say it's America. If they were to use an actual Native American, but still dress them up a little bit more to make them look more sci-fi future sort of thing, I feel like that would be more racially insensitive.
It's not about it's not really the fact of the matter is that the person is red,
right?
Necessarily for me, it's the fact about why did they have to be red? If they are explicitly called natives in this movie.
I think the only purpose of that was to show that it was a genocide against a race. They had to show a physical difference in the person.
I get that.
In order to track.
I get that, but at the same time, though, like, it's just.
Oh no! It's shit writing. It's terrible. There's no.
It's not even. I think that was just a really bad aesthetic choice for that type of thing. Like, if you had you have an explanation for it, and what I think, it was like, the skin of people who were like trapped in like the radiation zones and stuff like that, like turned like tomato red or something like that as a result. Give me something for it, but like. This is not like color. This is like sunburned, like 3rd-degree skin cancer type shit going on here.
It's not a like blatant little.
She's like Hellboy red.
Honestly, God, when she first showed up, I thought, oh, did we make alien contact? Is that part of the story in here? Because she doesn't look human. I mean, she's completely humanoid and all that, but skin tone, no one looks like. It'd be the same as if like someone completely purple approached you on the street and you'd be like, that has to be makeup. Either that or you're choking to death and somehow you're still walking. One of these things has to be true.
Yeah. And even if it wasn't that way, even if you wanted to create something on your own, out of all the fucking expositing that you did in this movie, you didn't do the stuff that is required in order to set up these characters.
And no, like, we got the entire thing of like how the government popped up, but we knew nothing about the natives, period.
Well, true, and also at the same time, it goes back to the fact at the end of the movie where it's debated whether or not that she was a real person or not. Okay.
Well, no, not even that, but remember, all the bodies were natives. The mountain of bodies, that was all natives.
Okay, I get that. I get that. So, at the same time, though, you couldn't tell all the bodies were any other color. No. Something like that. So the only thing that you're going off of is this one girl. Now, of course, I'm not trying to inject racism into anything unnecessarily. I'm not. But at the same time, though, you're not providing any context. We don't know where the fuck this is taking place. Okay, they're all English speaking. The Illuminati conspiracy theory is global. Yeah. So, and, I
mean, WikiLeaks is global.
Explain movie!
Okay, I'm just going to give final thoughts. I really have nothing more to say on this.
Yeah. It's just more coherent. It's an incoherent mess.
This movie, we've done a lot of movies with dystopian sci-fi futures where the government's doing something, blah, 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 blah.
As you saw.
So, when it comes down to this movie, what's really different about it, what lets it stand out on its own, is the fact that so many people, when they're filming these sort of, I'm creating my own mythology, they suck their mythology's dick. They love the fact that they're coming up with this. They're like, oh my god, and we'll talk about this, and we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the other thing.
We never actually even see much of the actual civilization.
They get so wrapped up in the ideas that they create that they forget to write a story in there. They don't let the story tell their mythology. They just tell their own mythology. This movie, it tells its own mythology, but it barely has anything to stand on there either.
Because it uses everything else.
There's like the story is so fucking random and vapid. The fact that we didn't even know what any of the characters were going for like 3/4 of the movie. There was a disk drive that supposedly people wanted, but then like they wanted destroyed, but then they wanted it saved at the same time. There was a anti-rad container that made up like half the movie. There was the native girl. There was just a whole bunch of different things that were all coming together, and all these different characters want these different things, but they never say that they want it. Everything's all duplicitous, and that's fine if in the movie itself you want to make the characters' motives a little bit unclear to each other, but as an audience, we have to have some idea as to why people are doing the things they do.
Smoking kills.
Fucking what?
One of the greatest one-liners Rutger Hauer's ever said, at the same time it being one of the worst.
God.
The fact
and
that...
hold on, one thing. So the one thing that really drove this home for me, and the fact that is just bad, is the fact that it doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Not just from a motivational standpoint, but just from a sense of space standpoint. A character moving from one location to another standpoint. What was Danny Glover doing? I don't know. What was Rutger Hauer doing? I don't know. Why is he brushing his teeth? Stop asking questions. This movie has nothing.
Ryuk with a machete.
Pretty much. Yeah, there's a giant fucking Grim Reaper that shows up, makes them kill themselves, and then they completely forget about that when it comes to the hallucination part. They just say, like, oh, I guess that was a hallucination. Anyway, we're talking about the girl in Lobo now. Ah.
Why are people having the same hallucinations at the same
None
time?
of that shit. And they're like all in the same place. They're all in the same time, but they're just hallucinations. But are they? Because fuck you. That's what this movie is. That's the 2047 because fuck you.
I mean, overall, that's pretty much we've said what we needed to say. The movie is... It was very frustratingly confusing, and it was, for lack of a better term, it was unrelenting with its confusion.
Yes.
That I honestly don't even know. I mean, we've been contacted before by directors and stuff like that on this show, and I would love it if we would get some clarification on this movie. So, if y'all people who made this thing...
Alessandro Capone.
Yes. Mr. Capone, or Capone. I don't know how the Italians pronounce it.
Whatever.
It's like, by all means, reach out to us. Yeah. Let us know what the fuck you were thinking.
Like, wait, don't just tell us the plot. Tell us why.
We have a laundry list of things that we can talk to you about.
Why you made your choices. That's all we want to know.
And... pretty much the end of this is that this is one of the few... This is the first movie in this season that we were almost in pain for. Didn't quite get there. Wasn't that bad.
The only thing that saved it was that it was occasionally funny and how stupid it was.
Yeah. I mean, if it was completely... And also, all the supporting characters, they were not good at general. Like, I kind of, like, sat back and let Rutger and Michael and Danny and it was all the good actors in this. I let them run with it, and they did what they could. It is what it is. Even though I don't think Rutger was all together there. I think he was like kind of Gary Buseying this movie. But at the end of it all, you don't need it. You don't need this in your life. And if you want to watch it, just because out of morbid curiosity, because of this. Do it at your own risk, and we are not responsible for what may befall you. So,
all right, that is 2047 Sites of Death /
Death Squad. Better than Suicide Squad, though.
Fuck this movie. Fuck you. Fuck everybody. I am going to bed.
I'm going to stay up and stare.
I don't give a shit what you do. Matt, I think I'm having some issues.
You think you've got it bad?
Oh no. This is that bad thing from earlier. How are we ever going to fix this, Matt? Oh. Sun Shark?
No idea. What about you, Nikolai?
Avert your eyes!
Oh no! I'm gonna be stuck on this shitty, unpopular web show for the rest of my life. If only someone could come and fix it. Someone handsome and popular with a huge dick. Please! Did somebody say big penis? He's
here!
I'm here, and in my infinite goodwill, I have solved all your problems.
Yay!
And then they all fucked. The end. You know, nowadays, life is pretty hard to make any sense of.